Well, good evening, family. A choice. Tonight's Big Book Club is doing a recap of what we covered last week, if you want to listen to that recording, where we left off in the book on page 83, Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous, the chapter Into Action. My name's Auntie Jill. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And tonight we're going to, before we start reading the line by line reading, I just want to remind everybody what we discovered in page 52 of the book in We Agnostics. And if you remember that we were taking a look at our lives and all these things that we have that will continue if we continue to drink. So on page 52, they listed 8 things, and we marked up our books accordingly in the paragraph, page 52, that started. The paragraph was, we had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view. And then the first thing it says is we were having trouble with personal relationships. So you can see on the left-hand side of the item that is displayed on the screen, and I invite you to take a picture of it with your phone, or we can circulate it in our morning meeting, this PDF. So notice it says you're having trouble with personal relationships. And that is, we wrote a number 1 next to that on page 52, where we listed those bedevilments. Now, when we flip back to page 83, and we're looking at the items that we had listed that were the answers to the bedevilments in the promises, we have the one that we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our families. Self-seeking will slip away. So we see something that plagued us when we were drinking is relieved in the step 9 promises. And so it continues back on page 52. We couldn't control our emotional natures. The promise that is equivalent to that on page 83, we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. And this is certainly my experience and true for me today, and for many who have found the answers of the solution in the promises to the bedevilments in this room. So now look at number 3. We were prey to misery and depression. The promise that's equivalent, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. And it does. We don't despair. We end up, so many people I know, myself included, that thought they were suffering from depression, found once they stopped drinking and I got healthier, I wasn't depressed anymore. And I was miserable for years when I was drinking, but I'm not miserable anymore. My whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. So for those of you who are trying to apply this to your life right now, personalize this. Think back to your drinking as you go through these bedevilments and say, I was prey to misery and depression. Were you? Were you depressed when you were drinking? Maybe it's clinical depression. We're not doctors. But I found that I didn't need antidepressants when I quit drinking. Alcohol is a depressant, that's a fact. And then the whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Certainly. Once I no longer was had alcohol as my higher power and opiates as my higher power, I found my whole attitude changed. So then we moved to number 4. We couldn't make a living. Well, fear of financial insecurity, we've got that one. So many of us have drunk ourselves, if not at the very bottom, we're well on the way if we keep digging to financial ruin. And then notice that the promise that takes that away is the fear of people, which is actually another one, people interacting with people, and of economic insecurity will leave us. Well, certainly I'm not spending as much of my time and energy on drugs and alcohol, apart from the expense of it. All that energy and thought, where my mind goes, my energy flows. And if it was feeding my addiction, that's what I fell into. But now, today, I put it into this program and helping others. And I'm not, I mean, I've had one of the biggest economic hits I've ever had with, a policy change between governments today. And I'm not afraid of it. Okay, I shared that in the morning meeting. You guys know what's going on. I'm not afraid. Okay, so number 5, we had a feeling of uselessness. Think about that, you guys. Did you feel useless when you were drinking? Did you feel useful to anybody? And then the equivalent promise, the feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. And it does, because we're finally being useful to others. It's not just about us. Number 6, we were full of fear, just generally. Fear of not finding that next drink, fear of not getting that next fix, fear of getting found out, fear of not getting found out, fear. And the equivalent promise, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And that's where prayer comes in, our connection to our higher power, turning to each other in the group, using our spiritual toolkit, all of the things that we've learned in this room together. That's what we do so that we aren't full of fear. And when we feel that fear coming, we know how to name it once we've worked our steps, and we know what to do about it. We know who to turn to, either our higher power or a fellow person in AA, or even our relationships that we've mended along the way. We have so much less fear, so much less cause for fear too. Okay, number 7, we were unhappy. I don't know very many happy alcoholics unless they're in that initial merriment mood, which doesn't last very often. And certainly when we sober up, I sure was not happy. That is not a word you could ever have used to describe me. And the promise, we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. And that is certainly my experience, no doubt about it. I have so much fun in these rooms, and I feel useful today. And I feel a freedom and a happiness like I've never known before, because I have a higher power looking out for me. It's actually relieved me of a lot of responsibility and worry, and I can focus on being joyful and celebrating that. Number 8, we couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. I don't know about you guys, but it wasn't about couldn't seem. I was definitely of no help to man, woman, or beast, feathered or I was in bed for 18 months with long-term COVID and very long bottles of wine that were endless, and then it turned into all sorts of other nonsense. And I was at the point where I didn't care if I lived or died. I wasn't suicidal. I was just indifferent. That's where I let my life get to. And I have so much to live for. So what's the equivalent promise? No matter how far down the scales we've gone, we will see how your experience can benefit others. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Absolutely. All the crap I've been through, thank God for it. Because if I hadn't been to the depths that I'd been to, I wouldn't be able to understand you and get you to really believe you can come to the other side of this, because I know what it feels like to be at the depths of despair. And I certainly today can tell you, I don't regret my past at all. I've owned it, and I've done the best to fix it. I've done my steps, and I continue to do my steps. I don't want to shut the door on it, because I want you to have the benefit of my mistakes. And then on the left-hand side at the bottom now, and it says, and most of all, on the left on the bedevilments, what's the match? We will suddenly realize that God, in my case, I call him HP or her HP. HP is doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. So personalize it, right? Take your name and go, I suddenly realize that God, as you understand him, mine's HP, is doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. I couldn't fix this myself. I tried every which way to fix this myself. But my higher powers got me. And today, I'm coming up to 3 years of celebrating that fact. That was not possible. I literally had blood work and such that saying I shouldn't be here. I should be a statistic. So anyway, that's the end of that. That takes us back to page 83 or 84, I think. Where is it, Amy? Can you get us back to where
Page 84.
I digressed? And pick someone to read.
This brings us to step 10.
Okay, so who'd like to pop in and start reading for us? This is the first full paragraph on page 84. And here's where we talk about step 10.
I will. Hi, I'm Kim. I'm alcoholic. This brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. I'm sorry, let me get closer. Wait, this is the problem. My mind being dust. Sorry. We vigorously commence to this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code.
All right, Kim, thank you for that. This is a loaded paragraph. There isn't a word I haven't got highlighted in some respect. Okay, so this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue. Now, I've circled the word continue because this is a continuation of step 4. It is also can be read another way to say that we're never done. We have to continue to work this program. And as one dear man I really respect says, these 12 steps aren't linear, they're a circle. We keep coming round and round to these points. So we continue to take personal inventory, right? We started in step 4, and then we continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. So step 10 is a maintenance step. And sometimes, if you don't address a new mistake, it ends up festering. If you think about it, if you harm somebody, if you've got an action that you've made recently in sobriety, and you haven't cleaned up your side of the road, which is what you're doing in step 10, immediately upon a new mistake, you're fixing it. If you don't do that, you end up back having to do a full-blown step 4 on it, and then it may end up being much worse and grow into something you end up having to make a full amends for. So this is a maintenance step. Then we vigorously, that's a very active thing. I've put next to it, don't let up. Commenced, so we started. So we're actively, asserting ourselves in this way of living. This is our program for living. We don't just do these steps and go, ta-da, I'm recovered. It doesn't work like that. This is our way of living. We're going to practice these steps as a way of living the rest of my life. And we're doing that as all of us are doing it, cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. That is step 10. That is where we move into another state of being, where we have increased and connected with our higher power in a much more intense way than we initially did when we got introduced and acknowledged them in step 3, telling them we wanted a new relationship. Here, we're really going to grow it. So, and it says that our next function is to circle it, grow in understanding and effectiveness. So step 10 is a daily basis. This is where I'm staying current. And this is why we get in the next couple of pages into what we read in every morning and meditate at 8. Okay, it's not an overnight matter, right? Patience. We're a work in progress. So circle that. Give yourself a break. Do the best you can, and you can never err. And then it says it should continue for our lifetime. All right, we're going to do this the rest of our lives. What a relief. We've got a program for living. We've got it mapped out now. We don't have to make those decisions anymore. We know how we should live our life. And then it says we continue to one, I've got a one next here, to watch. And I say, here's where I stay alert. I've got that my character defects don't come back. And here's a few. I've highlighted them. Watch out for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, fear. Do those sound familiar? Then I've got a 2 next to the next line. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. Remove my character defects, right? Then we've got the number 3. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. And 4, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help, right? We go back into our step 12. So here we've got a comparison of these character defects that we've got at the very beginning. And then we're given a solution here, how to deal with those character defects. And it ultimately ends up with us helping others, as it always does. Okay, let's carry on reading.
Anybody want to read?
Next person, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to call on anybody because I don't want to say people's names. Does
Okay,
anybody
I
wanna
see
jump
one
in?
hand up. Yep. We're with and we have ceased fighting.
Hey, I can go if nobody else will.
Go for it, John. Or I mean,
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally. We will find that it has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. This is the miracle of it. I just lost it.
we are not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. Got it, Johnny? From we feel as though?
It was,
Hang on here.
okay, yeah, but we feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. Our experience, this is our experience. That is how we, I can't see it with your picture.
That is how we react. Yep.
That is how, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, this is a super, super important read. Okay, starting with, and we have, so we're at the bottom of page 84. We've ceased fighting. So it's not about, so I've underlined that and I put, it's not about fighting as much as about defending myself all the time for alcohol. I've ceased the fight. I'm not defending it anymore. And then I've written next to that, I've passed on the baton. It's not in my life anymore. I've entered the limitless world of the spirit and the hand of God. I've ceased fighting. It's not about Jill anymore. My higher powers got this. And I really believe this today with conviction. And then it says, for by this time, sanity. And that takes me back to step 2, where I came to believe, where my sanity was restored. This is the promise in step 2 from God coming true. We will seldom be interested in liquor. I mean, I just came, as you guys know, from a place where alcohol is consumed and drugs are consumed publicly and openly 24/7. And it's supposed to be a holiday. I was interested in the insanity and what it was doing to people, but not for 1 second did it pass my mind, oh, I could just, because I had plenty of opportunity to do that if I'd been so inclined. You have no idea what a miracle it is. The only one that could have done that and put me in a place like that and me not party is a power much greater than Jill. My HP had my back every step of the way, and I grew stronger with every confrontation. So I'm seldom interested. If tempted, we recoiled from it like a hot flame. Oh my God, I'm so grateful for the debauchery I've just seen. Because if I ever needed it imprinted more on my mind that you can be in the most beautiful place and see nothing but hedonism and egotism and all of the things that want to pull me down. The devil of alcohol and drugs was there incarnate in my face 24/7. But again, I reacted, as it says on the next line, sanely and normally, and it happened automatically. Okay, so the next line here is the step 10 promise. We will see that our new attitude. So what's the new attitude? It's our step 10 attitude, because not until step 10 do we talk about not thinking about alcohol anymore. It's gone. We see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part, and that's my experience. It just comes, and it did. That is the miracle of it. Absolutely. We are not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. What is avoiding temptation? White knuckling it when you don't have a program. And if you've been sober a long time and your emotional sobriety is being challenged and you're white knuckling it, go back and see what the underlying fear is on that one. Because it's not always the substance of alcohol. It can be codependency. It can be another one of our character defects resurfacing, like lack of self-esteem or jealousy. Think of all the things that can end up upsetting your emotional sobriety. And I go back in this circular program and do my step 4 on that again when it arouses. But step 10 is telling me that I can be placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. And that is where I am, and you will be too. We've not even sworn off. I didn't take any vows. I didn't say I'm not drinking this week or next week or any of the other ways I tried to do it by myself, because my higher powers got this, and there's no time limit, and there's no the broad shoulders of my higher power. And if you don't have one, borrow mine, because HP can take you with me. He's got lots of room, or she does. Mine's gender neutral. Okay, this problem has been removed. That's a promise. It's gone. It does not exist for me today. And that is the beauty. That is the step 10 promise. The problem, circle it. The problem has been removed. Okay, let's carry on with the next paragraph. We are neither cocky nor afraid. Page 85.
Oh, wait, did I?
I can do it. As soon as I find it. Page 85.
Yeah, are we on? It's easy to let up, right?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I thought threw me
Let
off.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Right here. sorry.
That's why I couldn't find it.
Sorry.
It's okay. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do. where alcohol is a subtle foe. We're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our will along this line, all we wish. It is the proper use of the will.
Okay, I have this entire paragraph highlighted so many different ways, so bear with me. This is one of the most important paragraphs. All right, I call it the daily reprieve. This is the 24 hours at a time program here. So let's start with, first of all, it's not easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Okay, so this isn't something I do once and say some prayer and say, okay, thanks, it's fixed. It's not like I pray to Santa Claus and I get a gift and it's a done deal. Okay, so every day we need to carry the vision of our higher power's will for me. Okay, because, and here's the warning, we're headed for trouble if we do. For alcohol is a subtle foe. Remember? Cunning, baffling, powerful. We are not cured. Underline it. The best we can ever hope for is to be recovered. The book says right at the very beginning, we have recovered. It doesn't say we are cured. We have to accept in our step one, we've got the disease. And it's been proven today, we have a physical defect. We have a mental condition that other people don't have. We are never going to be cured of alcoholism. What we really have, and here's the essence of the 24 hours, a daily reprieve. And then contingent, what does that mean? There's a condition. You get this reprieve on the maintenance of your spiritual condition. You let go of God and you don't get that 24-hour reprieve. This is where you connect with your higher power so solidly. If you want this to continue, this is your keeping your spiritual condition in shape. And what were we coming up to? Our meditations, our evening check-in and our morning check-in, how we're going to begin and end those 24 hours. Okay, that's what's coming up every day. I've circled that in red. That's another definition of 24 hours. Okay, is a day when we must. That's a condition. It doesn't happen unless we do this. The must is that we carry the vision of God or our higher power's will into all of our activities. All of our activities. This is our program for living. We don't just invite God into our life or our higher power into our life conveniently because we don't want to die from alcoholism or drug addiction. There's a condition here. We're signing up to live our life a different way. And that's how we get to keep it. And that's what step 10 is telling us. How can I best serve thee? How can I best serve you, HP? That's how I start my day. HP's will, not mine, be done. What's your higher power look like? What do they want for you? Start your day, not getting into self and saying, here's what I'm going to do for me today. And I can't say my prayer, God, just get rid of my alcoholism for me and here's a bunch of stuff I want. Doesn't work like that. Thy will be done. HP's will be done. That's where we're going with this. Okay? And so my program is conditional on my spiritual condition. HP's mandatory. Okay, we may have been sober up to this point, but we're not going to stay sober. And we're certainly not going to recover unless we develop this relationship and maintain it on a daily basis. That's why we have to do the steps. And we need to understand the steps broken down this way. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. Every minute of every day, I walk with my HP. I just didn't know it. Amy did, but I had to learn it. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. It is the only proper use of self-will, is to line myself with my higher power. I know that today. And that, for me, is the essence of step 10. Okay, let's carry on. Like, that's a super important paragraph, guys. Go back and review it, and we'll discuss it at the end of the meeting. But I need you to understand, and I've got a tab on this one, and I've called it my daily reprieve. And I flip to it often because it reinforces that. Okay, so we're going to go to the paragraph. Much has already been said about receiving strength.
Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have began to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. Step 11 suggests...
Hang on, we're going to stop there. So this is the end of steps 10. Thank you for that lovely reading. And I love the flow of it because I love the way your tone with the receiving strength, inspiration, and direction. We're not alone. We're not trying to figure this out by ourselves anymore. Underline that. We've talked about strength and inspiration and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power, omniscient and omnipotent, as it's referred to. If, here's a condition, we have carefully, with care, with thought, with consciousness, not just blind obedience, we've been careful, okay? Followed directions. We have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. I have become spiritually awake. I was never alone. I love that, the footsteps in the sand, and who are the steps walking next to you that you can't see? And that was my higher power all along. I've never been alone. I just wasn't God conscious. And this program gave me an introduction to the concept in step 2. I formed a relationship in step 3. And in step 10, I am constantly renewing this relationship and taking it to a level that I've never had with any living creature. And that's a profound experience for me. It's a true spiritual awakening. So don't be afraid of these words when it says it's God conscious. Basically, you're getting out of self. You're undergoing a psychic change, and this alcohol problem is going to go away if you're just willing to do the work to get to this side of it. And then it says we've begun to develop this vital. What does the word vital mean? Life-giving, life-sustaining sixth sense. So this connection you're making with your higher power, it sustains your life to be the kind of life with the program of living that you now want to have. It's a win-win for everybody, let alone the people that interact with us. And then it says, but we must go further, and that means more action. And I'm actually going to stop there. This program, this chapter is called Into Action. So we've just completed step 10, and I think there's a natural break here. for starting with step 11 on the bottom of page 85 next time. So thank you for being with us this evening. I think we'll stop the recording there. My name's Jill.